Hello, and welcome to the Scholarship Opportunities Program Conversation panel. Today, we will be discussing some of our Explorers 11 awards with recent recipients. So for more information about the E11, as well as the Trailblazers 10, which is our spring-summer cycle, please check out our website, scholars.uci.edu. Today, we will be focusing on the E11 postgraduate internships, which comprise of 2 scholarships. The first is California Capital Fellows, which offers 10 to 11 months working in the California state government, specifically in either the legislative, executive, or judicial branch office, as well as working in community-based outreach programs. The Carnegie Endowment Junior Fellows Research Internship provides a full salary with benefits for a year, and they are looking for students to do research in a policy think tank setting. And preferences are given to candidates who have strong research skills and social methodological training. So my name is Teresa Nguyen, and I am a scholarship advisor with SOP. Today, I'm joined by 2 illustrious UCI and SOP alumna, and I'll have them introduce themselves to you now. Santharia?
Yeah, definitely. Hi, everyone. My name is Santharia Manikandan. I am a recent grad from Irvine. I graduated in 2021 with a double major in psychological sciences and criminology, and right now I'm pursuing the executive fellowship here in Sacramento.
As part of the California Capital Fellows, and she also has a minor in digital information
systems. Yes.
And we're also joined by Angeline.
Hi, everyone. My name is Angelina Obedoza. I'm also a recent grad from UC Irvine. I graduated this past June with a major in political science, and I'm currently in the judicial judicial branch of the fellowship, and I'm placed in San Mateo County Superior Court.
Awesome. As another California Capital Fellow, and she is zooming in from her office, so you can see what the internship environment looks like. Thank you so much for joining us today. And so we're going to have a conversation about your different scholarship experiences and how you prepared and your application process, as well as talk about what you were able to gain from putting in these applications other than just winning. So if you could start off with telling us, how did you start building up your resume and portfolio of experiences?
Yeah, I can go ahead and go first. So definitely started off my first year just going in, and I had this idea in mind of just trying everything that I was ever interested in. And I think that's a great approach to have as a first year, maybe not so much as you get older and go through your college journey, but getting the chance to explore and find what's out there, and then kind of narrowing it down, picking 3 or 4 things that really interest you, that really speak to you or you're passionate about, and that kind of helps you build those stronger connections with mentors and people that can kind of help guide you and write those letter of recommendations while you're applying for the fellowship. And so for me, what spoke to me was definitely anything that was service related. So things that I could give back to either the community or give back to students. And then anything that was also kind of connecting psychology and law. So those are my 2 kind of broad interests coming into UCI. And I didn't know if I could bridge those, but I found a lot of different opportunities in terms of research and classes and legal internships outside of UCI that helped me kind of bridge that gap between the 2 disciplines that I was interested in.
And then similarly for me, I also started my freshman year. So I came in with an interest in law, but I found my passion in community service. So some of the first few projects that I worked on were involved with community service. And then as I went through my college experience, I took classes that inspired me and pushed me towards the legal direction even more. And so I built those connections with professors. I reached out to mentors. And like Santharia said, I kept in mind, because I kind of figured that I wanted to go into law school. So I kept in mind the people who would potentially be my letter of rec writers. And that helped a lot when applying to scholarships, such as the Capital Fellows. And that also led me to continue applying and continue exploring other fields besides like the legal field and looking into other opportunities such as research. So those helped a lot.
Great. Both of you mentioned letters of recommendation and faculty, and that is a really important piece of the application process. How did you start building relationships with faculty? It's hard when you're part of a lecture of 400 students. So how do you build that connection?
I can take this one first, since I just spoke with one a few days ago, but I think the easiest connection with me is through the TA, and then I would speak with the TA and get that relationship and connection, and then reach out to the professor with questions and other insights that I garner, and then just continue to work off of like the lecture, like use the lecture as a basis, and then as I move along, like reach out to the professor personally, and then start to speak after hours and then find common ground. So really harvesting that personal connection, I say, is really important.
Definitely. Yeah, I think I have a similar path to Angelina in that like TAs are like that first point of contact for you when you're getting in touch with professors. Like you mentioned, Teresa, you're like competing with 400 students for like one person's attention, so it can be tough. But finding that connection, whether it be going to office hours and being proactive about it, or even there's a lot of events on campus. I was fortunate to be a part of the campus-wide Honors Collegium, and they hosted a lot of different coffee hours or events where we got to network with professors. And a lot of the other schools also hold events like that where you can meet professors with the intention of networking. And so I think those are great opportunities to meet people. And I think going further, if you are interested in that research route or that's something that you think you could be interested in, I encourage everyone to try it because it gives you an amazing connection to the professor to talk to them about something they are so passionate about that they are pursuing, they have been pursuing for the past 10, 20 years. And so that's just like one conversation topic that's already there right in front of you, and it makes it so much easier to have those conversations. And I think post-grad, it can be difficult to keep up those connections. And so it's really important to continue to update the people that were supporting you throughout your time at UCI with what you're doing, where you're at. So I'll send like a email like every 3 or 4 months, and I'll send pictures too sometimes of like things that I'm doing and stuff. And I think that helps keep that personal touch so that you can continue to reach out to that support network when you apply post-grad.
Great. So you do mention research as one way to really build a relation with faculty as well as to build up your resume. Can you talk about your specific research projects that you pursued at UCI?
Definitely. I can go ahead and take that one first. So coming in, like I mentioned, there was like this interest between psychology and law. And I knew that was something that I wanted to pursue as I was taking on a research project. So I actually entered a lab under Dr. Loftus during my second year at UCI, and she specializes in all things psychology and law. And so I just wanted to understand what research was actually happening out there, because so many people have researched so many things. So it's good to kind of get a sense of the field and what's going on. And so that was kind of my second year, just being under her wing, learning about the different things that were happening in the field. And then in my third year, once I had enough experience and I had established a relationship, I was able to ask, like, can you undertake me as someone that could research under you and you could be my mentor? And so that was kind of like a transition there for me. And also, a lot of the schools offer research or honors programs that can also help you get that connection and make sure you're on the right track for the thesis. So I was part of the social ecology honors research program. So I had the help of Dr. Dent, where we were able to take statistics courses as well as get her guidance on how to put together a proposal, how to submit to Europe to get funding, and like how to create a research poster and actually present it so people understand what you're saying and all of those things. So there's a lot of different resources out there to kind of help you get your foot involved in into research.
And then for me, it was actually quite the opposite. I entered research not really knowing what I was doing. So I met my advisor when I was a sophomore, and I was just really interested in his work. This was happening around the time of COVID. And so I was able to watch his lectures. I was able to watch them at a pace that I could kind of like set for myself. And so that really helped me and like internalize the material and get my mind working into what kind of research interested me. And so as I entered my senior year, I knew that I wanted to do research, but I just didn't know what. And so I kind of found my topic through like scrolling through research articles. And then I reached out to my advisor because he was kind of the professor that I really connected with. And when I had proposed my idea to him, he helped me build upon it. And till this day, we still have that really strong connection. And he's written me, going back to our conversation on letters of recommendation, he was a really good mentor for me in both doing my honors thesis, because I was also part of the political science honors program, and also applying with the Capital Fellows, because he helped me kind of not just be a letter of rec, but also helped me with the application. So I think research is something that all undergrads should look into if they haven't already.
Awesome. Angeline, can you tell us a sentence or two about what your research was about?
Oh yeah, of course. So I did my research on the missing white woman syndrome. And it's because during COVID, the whole idea of the people who are othered and which kinds of people in society are outcasted really inspired me, and how the media kind of portray people a certain way. And so coming back to UCI in the fall, the case with Gabby Petito, the missing white woman who was featured on news stories 24/7, and kind of that relationship with how other groups of people are ignored in the media really piqued my interest. And so I pursued it into my senior year.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think you provide a great example of how research is not just finding new knowledge, but leveraging that knowledge to advocate and to serve and support people. And in speaking of that, can you both speak a little bit about how you translated your passion and your values into productive and effective advocacy and community service and leadership?
So I can take this one first. So I'm really interested in community service and helping people from disadvantaged groups. So in UCI, I helped out with this organization called By Any Means, and we seek to alleviate the needs of the homeless. I also participated in the Prison Pandemic Project, and I worked as a hotline volunteer, taking calls from incarcerated individuals. And so we could publish them on our website and kind of show stories of how inmates are treated, especially at the height of COVID. And from the outside looking in, it looks like two kind of separate interests that don't really have a connection. But to me, I really do take a passion in advocating for people who don't have a voice, who don't have a seat at the table. And I think this helped me define what my career would be post-grad. So I'm hoping to become an immigration lawyer, because in this country, if you're not a citizen or if you don't have the right to vote, you kind of don't really have a voice and you don't have a seat at the table. And so continuing to work for that and having that passion be my guiding force as I, apply to law school and as I weather all sorts of stressors has been really impactful and helpful.
Yeah, definitely. I think we have similar interests, Angeline. For me, it's legal inequities in terms of access. And so I think a lot of it for me was there's so many resources out there, but people aren't getting access to those resources or don't know about them. And why is that? And for me, one of the ways that I see a potential solution is in technology or is in outreach. And so a lot of the things that I did in undergrad and postgrad kind of bridged this idea of bringing these legal resources to the people it actually should be serving. And so, for example, at UCI, I got the chance to be a part of the law school Saturday Academy of Law. And this basically provides a very intro legal education to the First Amendment, to what is a constitutional right and things of that nature, to high schoolers that were in the local area, and they were typically first gen, they were typically from low income households. So just understanding how their identities interplayed with the laws that are existing in our country right now and what can change for them, and how harnessing that awareness can help change the trajectory of their lives or their families' lives was super inspiring to me. And it kind of pushed me to continue to work in that outreach route. So working at ASCCI student government. I worked in the legal clinic and I was the commissioner for it in my senior year. So really focusing on, okay, so students are struggling with the pandemic in terms of housing. How can we help them? How can we help them get out of contracts? How can we help them understand the contracts that they're signing? And so getting resources for that. And I think there's just so much out there in terms of making that connection. And I hope to continue to pursue making that connection through this fellowship that we'll be embarking on, and then eventually in law school and becoming a lawyer, continuing to make sure those resources are being given to the people that need it most.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing all of that. So Cyntharia and Angeline, you are both recipients of the California Capital Fellow. Cyntharia is UCI's first finalist for the Carnegie, and you guys have extensive community leadership experience, and your resumes and CVs are pages long. So what do you have to say to students who are hearing all of this and thinking, that can never be me? You know, like, I'm not cool enough to apply for these scholarships. How would you address their imposter syndrome?
First of all, you're always cool enough. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I was just listening to a podcast today where you always think that someone else is cooler than you are. And that it's like this perception. It's all perception. And I definitely think you can be your biggest cheerleader or you could be your biggest hater, right? And so I think it's really important to reframe the way that you look at other people's achievements as something that can motivate you rather than something to put you down and be like, oh, I could never be that person. And so I think for me, it was a lot of like recognizing those people could be an inspiration to me and reaching out to them, talking to them and being like, how did you get to where they are? Because they started where you were. They didn't start off with a list of like 20 things on their resume. They started with one and they worked their way up. And so making sure to understand that this isn't what you're seeing isn't where they started, and understanding that you can also get to that point is super important. And I think just always starting with what you're passionate with. Don't do things just to do things or put them on your resume. I think that's where it loses its value, or that's where I feel like it's not genuine anymore. And so making sure you're always passionate about what you're doing. And if it's not serving you or you're not serving them or giving it the 100%, move on and find something else. So I think that would be my advice.
Angeline?
Wow, Cyntharia, you echoed everything beautifully. And I just want to reiterate everything you just said. But also one of my biggest mottos in life is, if you can't do it confidently, do it scared. A lot of people that you see accomplishing great things, not everyone is confident, and they probably don't see themselves the way you see them either. Like, they probably have their share of, self-doubt, self-worrying, anxiety, nervousness. And you don't just wake up one day and you're able to do all these things. You have to build up to it. And it's not just one giant leap to the finish line. It's a series of small, intentional steps to get there. And the minute you start pushing yourself to keep going and, pick those battles that, even though you don't think you can win them, there's a value in still trying and building yourself up for it, I think is really special. And
Great.
oh,
Sorry. Oh, no, that's perfect, Angeline. I also wanted to find out, you've been talking about your various experiences and how to change perception of your different experiences and think about your passion. How has your scholarship journey and the SOP advising process helped you in this?
SOP was such a big help because I'd have all these ideas and I just wasn't quite sure how to put it down on a piece of paper. And Teresa, I'm not just saying this because you're here, but you've been such a big help, like, honestly. Even describing it right now is hard, what SOP was able to help me with, because there's so many things involved with applying for these scholarships, and it can be very overwhelming sometimes. And SOP kind of just holds your hand. And, even though like the deadlines on campus seem a bit scary or intimidating at first, they are there to help you and they're there to keep you on track. So I think SOP did really a great job at keeping me accountable and helping me continue through the whole process without losing sight of the big goal at the end, which is to hopefully win a scholarship.
Great. Cynthia, can you talk a little bit about what you got out of the scholarship experience?
Yeah, definitely. I think, first of all, the SOP office is such an invaluable resource to UCI students, and I wish more students knew about it or were able to take advantage of all the amazing advising and guidance that you get. But I think the biggest thing for me in terms of SOP is realizing that you can apply for these things and that there are people that can help you with it. I think opening the application can be really intimidating, especially when it comes to writing these different essays. They'll ask you for different recommenders and they'll be like, what's your purpose? What's your passion? And you're like, I'm still trying to figure it out, you know? And so it can be hard to kind of craft that, but having someone like Teresa or other advisors at SOP kind of help you find your story and what exactly you're hoping to gain from applying for this scholarship is so important. And I think, speaking to my last point of like, when you are your biggest hater or when you are feeling underwhelming or like you feel like you can't do it, they are your biggest motivators. I feel like the SOP really comes in and is like, yes, you can do this. We know you can, and you're just going to do it. And it's like, I need that push sometimes. And so it's definitely been such an amazing experience working with the office, and it has continued to help me to apply for things post SOP too. All the resources, all the essays that you're writing are going to come such in handy when you're applying for grad school and other opportunities as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for the plug. You guys are both so humble. We're only able to support you because you are so awesome in the first place. So let's talk a little bit about, we talked about the scholarship process a little bit, the different parts of it. What was the most difficult part and how did you work through that?
I guess I can take this one. I guess the most difficult part for me was definitely keeping on top of deadlines. First of all, it can be tough, especially if you are a student or postgrad. I know there's so many other things that you're doing, and I'm sure if you are applying for a scholarship, you are also involved in 10 other different things. And so I think it's really important to kind of keep a calendar or communicate first with your advisor of what's going on. This is my situation. How can I work around these deadlines, and how can I make sure that I'm delivering the material on time and making sure it's at the best quality. So just definitely communication with your advisor. And then I think for me, what I struggled with was especially writing like statements, and particularly personal statements. I think it's always hard to talk about yourself, or so I think you only get better as you write more of those personal statements. And I think being open to understanding that personal statement can change in 2 months and 3 months. Like what you wrote for some scholarship might not apply a year later on, and that's okay. That's who you were at that moment. So I think those are the two toughest things that I had to go through, but you have the support and resources to help you get through it. So yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to add on to what you were saying about the personal statement, because that was honestly the hardest thing for me, was to put all my thoughts on a piece of paper, because the prompt for Capital Fellows, at least for the personal statement one, is really broad. Like you really have to come to terms with who you think you are as a person, and you have to write all your experiences on a piece of paper, and that defines who you are. That 1-page statement is how the committee will see you and perceive your application. But I think SOP was a great outlet for me to kind of navigate through thinking of who I am and what I've worked through throughout my high school or my college years. And being able to kind of talk about my experiences really helped me figure out which ones were the most important for me, and helped me realize which ones made the most impact, so I can create that personal statement.
Great. So thank you so much for sharing your experiences today. We're going to close out with the one last question of, what is one piece of advice that you have for students who are interested in pursuing a scholarship and maybe potentially pursuing your E11 scholarship, the Carnegie or the California Capital Fellows?
I can take this one because it kind of echoes the sentiment I was going for earlier. Just do it. You know, at first I hesitated a lot to go after these scholarships because I had a really bad case of imposter syndrome. I thought, you know, there's no way they can pick me. You know, look at her. She has all these different qualities. Look at him. He has X, Y, Z. But at the end of the day, you know, you're your own best person or best fit for the job in someone else's eyes. Like just because you can't see it yet doesn't mean you don't have the potential and the capabilities. So just, you know, if you can't do it confidently, just do it scared, just pursue it. And just continue working and striving hard for your best every day, I think, is the best way to go.
Great. So I feel Angelina is basically saying,
yeah.
Awesome. Cyntharia?
Yeah, 100% echo what Angeline said. Always just do it. You never know what could happen. And so don't live your life in the what ifs and the regrets and all those things. So definitely that. And I think the other thing is look into what the scholarship actually is. I definitely, I see these big names. I'm like, okay, what do they actually do? What's the purpose of giving this scholarship, or what are they intending for you to do? Because this should be an opportunity for you to grow. That should be the point of you taking on these opportunities. And so I definitely look to see like, okay, is this going towards the direction that I see my life going towards, or is this going to open a door that I want to explore? So definitely understanding what the scholarship is offering. And there's so many information sessions, so much research online, so much on the UCI SOP website, and you can kind of see which ones you're interested in. And I think make a list and take it to the SOP office and be like, what do you guys think? What should I go for? And, you know, get the advice, get the support that you need. And like Angeline said, just do it.
All right, thank you so much, Cyntharia and Angeline, for sharing your experiences, your words of wisdom about your scholarship journey with us. I hope that you are inspired by them and are excited to start on your own scholarship journey. If so, and if you're interested in pursuing these and the other E11 scholarships, please note that you will have to complete SOP Prep. And SOP Prep is an extracurricular, non-credit professional development experience Canvas course that helps you uncover insights about scholarships and yourself that you can use to develop an application strategy, connect with your insights and goals to the program requirements for specific scholarship opportunities. You will also need to complete a E11 pre-application form, and these forms will get you started in gathering and thinking through your portfolio of experiences and how they will fit into an award. Please note that you will have to complete one pre-app for each subgroup of E11 awards that you're interested in. So if you're interested in postgraduate internships, that will be a pre-app. If you're interested in research, that will be a separate pre-app. The deadlines for these E11 pre-applications are in late October and early November, so please check our website for specific deadlines and more information. If you have questions or need more information or just want to chat about scholarships, please contact our office at scholars@uci.edu. Check out our website at scholars.uci.edu. You can also join our campus groups, our SOP campus groups, to get the latest on scholarship events and resources and workshops. And if you want to visit us, the SOP office is located in the Student Excellence Center, located on the 5th floor of the Science Library. Thank you so much for attending, and good luck on your scholarship journey.